Hey folks, Nathan here from the Star Wars Timeline Gold, Star Wars Beyond the Films, and the Star Wars Gaming Podcast, Cloud City Casino, which you can find at StarWarsReport.com. Bring you a look at more Fantasy Flight Games, Star Wars RPG material. This is the Age of Rebellion sourcebook, fully operational. This is a sourcebook specifically for engineers. And if you're trying to play as an engineer, or any character even similar to an engineer, someone maybe who's not an engineer but has sort of a bent in that sort of creative direction, I think you're going to find this pretty cool because, among other things, this is a book that gives you rules for crafting new ships, crafting new vehicles, and taking civilian vehicles and crafting them into vehicles that can be used for military purposes. That alone makes this kind of a cool book to pick up for those who are trying to run an Age of Rebellion campaign. So what do we have here? So we start out with our opening crawl. We get into some basic setup. I mean, it's all very much like what we see in pretty much all of these source books for specific character types. We have specific backgrounds for engineers, a new table of duties specifically for engineers, and we are being introduced to 3 different species that we could play as that expand the universe as far as character options go. We have the Bith, the Kaminoans, and the Skakoans. Skakoan being like Wat Tambor from the Techno Union, right? We then get into new specializations, including the Droid Specialist, the Sapper, the Shipwright, new talents, engineer motivations, again specific to engineers, and then 2 new signature abilities, as we're used to seeing oftentimes in these types of source books. We have The Harder They Fall and Unmatched Ingenuity. That then gets us into our second chapter, which is basically new gear and whatnot, as you would pretty much expect. New ships, new tools, same old kind of stuff. I mean, not all stuff we've seen before, but the same format we've seen before. But then we get into this cool crafting victory section, and it's basically how do you integrate engineer characters into your campaign. But then you start getting into these expanded mechanic rules with not only repair, construction, sort of the typical stuff. You get into, like I said, how to convert civilian vehicles and facilities for military use, specific rules for that, specific steps in crafting new vessels, vehicle and starship crafting. So if you're trying to actually create something of your own, something that is a unique thing for your characters in your campaign, and yes, it gets into how to set up engineer-focused campaigns, this is a good one to pick up. If you're just playing as an engineer, you'll find some nifty little tools and some things that'll let you make your character a little bit more interesting, perhaps. But the big thing in here is that crafting mechanic. So if you're going to jump into Age of Rebellion as an engineer, and you want to get your hands dirty actually making some things for the Rebellion, or I guess for the Empire, but primarily for the Rebellion, then hey, look no further than fully operational for Age of Rebellion.